Welcome to part 2 of our webinar series about new features and about version 9.1. My name is Juraj Mojik, I'm a developer here at Resco and I will be your host today. At first, as usual, a couple of things. You are all muted, but if you want to ask questions, feel free to write them in the chat window of the GoToWebinar. This webinar is also being recorded and the recording will be available afterwards on our YouTube channel. It will take approximately half an hour to an hour for me to go through all these features, so let's start. Summer release Resco Mobile CRM 9.1 is out. Actually, if you will try downloading the application today or tomorrow, you will find out that we already released a minor update, so 9.1.1, fixing some minor issues with the application. It's summer release, but also this means that even though if you live in Australia where there is technically winter, it's no problem, you can still use our summer release. Because it was released a couple of days ago, June 22nd, with more than 30 new features, which I will, some of them, explain in a minute. So what we will go through today? I will talk about some improvements in calendar, improvements with list images. I will explain how the voice control works, new formats of reporting. Then drop-down text fields, that is something that it's maybe a little bit difficult to put into simple words, but I will try my best to explain it to you. Then search view setup and how it really works with our application, and synchronization errors localization. Calendars. Calendar is a very important integral piece of the mobile business and the mobile workflow. And in our application, it's pretty neat, but it's still just a calendar item somewhere on the home menu. And we've decided this is not enough, that we would like to expand the possibilities of our calendar. So we basically did something that we called anything anywhere. We wanted the calendar to be available anywhere within the application where you would like to put it. And also we would like to display anything on the calendar, because so far you could only go with activity type of entities, so something like appointments, tasks, or phone calls. Now you can place any entity on the any entity on the calendar. I will show you in a sec how to do that. The setup is actually quite simple. What you have to do is set up date fields on any type of view. So for example, the situation where you would like to display opportunities on the calendar. We've seen this request from our customers. They actually wanted to display opportunities on the calendar for the salespeople to really pay attention to when a certain opportunity is supposed to be closed. So to do that, you just go on to the opportunities view, set up the date fields, and you are good to go. You can now display that entity or that view on the calendar. Also, once you click on any associated tab or any home item, or even somewhere on the dashboard, you will see tab properties where you can select that also calendar should be visible there, or even that it should be initial control. So as usual, I will now rather do this in a demo to show you what I mean. So here is Woodford, the customization tool, and I will create a new project, webinar 9.1, put there priority and select system administrator. I'm using the default project, so the simple one. If you want to know more about the extended project and you haven't seen yesterday's webinar, there will be the recording soon. So I will go with the scenario of opportunity. So just to recap, we want to see opportunities on the calendar because we want to track when a certain opportunity should be closed, and we want to be notified about that. So I will go into opportunities and open the view. But before I do that, I will enable one more field, which is called estimated close date, because I want to use this field to be displayed, to use it on the calendar to display the opportunity. So estimated close date is on, and I will open my view. Here is the magic button, date fields. So when I click on that, I can select which fields will be used for the calendar view. Currently there is none, because I have to select that field also in the select field for the view, and then I can select it as a start and end field. It doesn't really matter that the same field is used as start and end. The application will actually create the smallest appointment or smallest item on the calendar. It will take half an hour, so it's not really an issue that the same field is used. So this is it. Now I can use this view on the calendar. So if I go on the calendar, here, if I open it, I can now click Add Entity, select Opportunity, and I can now view Opportunity Entity on the calendar. But let's do something else as well. Let's put the opportunity on the dashboard, for example. So I will open the dashboard form. I will make place for the opportunities. I will add a new view, the opportunity view that I'm using. And the important are these two tabs, calendar and properties. Here I have some settings for the calendar, like day filter, like which types of views, like agenda, day view, and etc. will be available. But the properties are interesting right now because I can deactivate map, deactivate chart, and make sure that this one will be open as calendar. So when I will open dashboard, instead of seeing the opportunities as a view, I will see them as calendar. You will see that in a sec. What I will also do, I will go onto the account form, add opportunities list here, and do a very similar thing. I will open, double click that tab, and deactivate map and chart, and set calendar as the initial item. And I think I'm good with this, so let's publish the project and switch to iPad. Okay. So I already started synchronizing, and here is my updated project. So the first thing we want to check is the calendar. Here, if I click on the top, you can see that the entity is actually really an opportunity, and I can already see two opportunities in here, one which is due today and one which is supposed to be due tomorrow. I can check also the dashboard, where you will see that opportunities as calendar are immediately displayed. If I switch to VIG and scroll a little bit on the calendar, you can see that I can check the opportunities on the calendar, but I can still flip them back to a view or list, as I'm used to, for example, here on the opportunities, which I can flip to chart and then flip them to the calendar. Finally, let's check the accounts. Active cycling, edit, and select the opportunities tab. And again, as you can see, it's a calendar, but I can again flip them back to the list. So right now you can have any entity on the calendar, and it can be any view anywhere within the application can be flipped to calendar or actually used as a calendar view. So let's go back to the presentation. And my next topic are the list images. So right now we have quite nice support for images on the lists or views. You can display some static images, so images that are from the project, or some data images, so images that are stored within a data. So for example, if you have a product list, you can have an image of that particular product as it is stored within notes, for example. We have done some improvements, and the first improvement are default images. So the scenario where you are creating a catalog of products and you have pictures of certain products, but you don't have pictures for all of them, and you would like to use one default image for the ones which you don't have image for, we can do that now. It's called default images, and I will explain how to set this up. The second improvement is called editable images, and actually it doesn't mean that you can edit images directly in the application. It means that if you are on the list and you click on the image, you can edit the field which this image is bound to. For example, you can have a lead and its rating code displayed on the view, and once I click on that image, on that view, I can select that rating. I will explain this and perform these examples in the sec. So you have the default images. The setup is very simple. You go into an image style, click on the image query, you will see a window like that, and just set the default image or placeholder image. For the editable images, we have a new kind of a cell in the view editor. There are actually 3 new kinds: edit image, clickable image, or direct edit image. And using these, you can define the editable images. So you have to set binding to row value, and in the image style, you have to set format string. Maybe I will go a little bit back and explain how it works. So there is the image folder, then there is this 0 in the curly brackets, .png, and this will be during runtime replaced by the actual value of that pick list or of that boolean value. So something like my images .10001.png. But as I said, it's probably better to see this in action, so let's switch to Woodford. Here we are. So I will show you 2 examples. One is a simple product catalog, and the second are the lead ratings. So let's go on to the products and prepare everything I need there. So I have my products view. I will move these 2 cells a little, and I will add an image cell. I will select list node image because list node image means data image, so image which is stored within a node associated to that product. This is fine, so let me check the styles, and I will actually create a new style derived from list node image. I will call this one product list image, and I will set the alignment to center and click on the image query. So this defines where the image will be taken from. It will be taken from the node, from its document field, and the subject has to be equal to list image, and the object ID has to be equal to ID of my product. But if such an image does not exist, then a placeholder image will be used, and this is an image which exists in the project, and it will be in a folder called product, and the name of the image will be placeholder png. Of course, you can put any other folder or any other name of the image. This is the one which I will use. So if such a node is not found, this image will be used instead. And I'm almost done, so I can just set the product list image here, and the only remaining step is to go into the images, create a new directory which I will call product as I've defined in the style. I'll make sure that I only see that folder, and I will add an image. This one, and the name will be placeholder. So I'm basically done. I can click save, and this image will be used instead of the note, but I also want to make the adding of the note as easy as possible. So I will go on my product form, I will add a media tab, I will call this one photo. The title will be equal to list image as it was defined in the image query, and let's go for capture photo, select photo, and probably paste. Alright, so this is the product catalog. I will run the demo or the example on the iPad very soon, but I want to set up the leads as well with the editable lists, with the editable images. So for that, I will start in the images, and I will create one more directory or one more folder, and I will call this one lead. And what I will do here is, before I continue, I will show you the lead rating field. And it has three options: hot, warm, and cold, with 1, 2, and 3 as the codes. So I'll go back into my images. Here will be open my lead folder, and I will add 3 images. First one will be hot. It will have the name 1 as the code. Second one will be warm, number 2. And finally, I will open cold, which will be number 3. So I have my images, and now I will go on to the lead form. And again, start by moving the cells a little, something like this. And add an image, but this time I will go for project image, because this will be the image which I have just uploaded to the images folder. Let's check the style again. And again, I will create a new style called product list image. And instead of clicking into image query, I will click into format string. Sorry, so let's call this one some. Oh yeah, so this is a lead list image, of course. And if I click here into the format string, it already gives me all the folders from the images. So I will take my lead folder, and it pre-fills the format string with lead. Now this will be replaced in the runtime by the code of the rating and .png. So it will use exactly the images which I have provided. So all I have to do is set the lead list image here. I will set binding to raw value, because instead it would use the value, which means it would use the names, and I want to use the numbers. And I want to click on rating here and bind it to rating. I'm almost done, but the final piece is this kind, where I can select image edit, which would allow me to edit each of the records and then hit save. This is for only clicking, and this is direct edit. So as soon as I will edit this rating code, it will save that record and change that rating accordingly. So I think I'm done. Let me do one more check on the product. If I change the cell there, or the binding product list image, all right. So I can publish. and switch to the mobile application. All right, so let's start with the leads. So I'll open the leads, and immediately you can see that I have all the images there. I probably deactivated the Encore here on the cell, so I can quickly fix that so it will look a little bit better. And sync again. Yep, here we are. So as you can immediately see, there are images which basically correspond to the rating. So if I click on that, here is the rating, hot, right? Here is the cold. It's the cold icon. But what's interesting and what's new is that now I can click on this icon and it will give me the options, cold, hot, and warm. And as soon as I change it to hot, or let's say warm, it's already modified. Or if I again click there, select cold, it will change the icon and it will also change on the record. Let's check the products and the product catalog there. So as you can see, I have all my products in here. They don't have any image, so all of them have the default placeholder image used. But what I can do, I can switch to the email application. Here I have a handy image, so I'll click on that, select copy here on the bottom, click back into mobile CRM, open for example the first one, select the photo, select paste, hit save, and I have immediately one of the images here. So for this one, the image was found and is used. For the remaining ones, no image is found, and therefore the placeholder image is being used. If this is completely new to you, I recommend you checking one of our previous webinars about the data images, where all of this is explained in more detail. So those were the list images, and now let's talk a bit about voice control. This is a big new thing, and currently we are using Cortana on Windows and on Windows only. Also, it's only available in English, but more languages will probably follow based on the adoption, and of course our partners and customers who use this and who would like to utilize this in their own projects. So what can you say to Cortana? How can you initialize this process? So if you are interested in how this actually works and what you can do with CRM application, you can initiate Cortana, click on this little question mark, and it will open the list of applications which can be controlled by voice and by Cortana. Select CRM and it will show you a list of all possible combinations, or of some possible examples how you can control the application. Before that, you have to know that you have to use a prefix which has to be set before every command, and for mobile CRM the prefix is CRM. So if you want to perform some action, you have to say CRM, for example, show me accounts, or something like that. So prefix is CRM, show me accounts is the actual command. So what are the available commands? There are 9 commands supported by mobile CRM, and for each of them there are multiple ways how you can say each command. So for example, for showing an entity, you can say show me and the name of the entity, or open entity name, or even show entity name, and so on. So what's here in these rectangular brackets is optional. What's in the curly brackets is the actual name of the record, entity, view, or whatever you want to use. So there is showing an entity, and showing an entity with a certain view. So you can use show, you can use open, and add show me accounts view default or something like that. You can use open, view, list, and combination of these. Then you can perform searching. For example, say find or search for, and say the record name, or even specify which is the entity. So search for Resco in accounts. You can also create records by saying create, add new, or even specify what the primary field value should name. So create account, or create account called, I don't know, Resco. If you have the application already running, you can just say create new Resco, and it will already create that in the particular entity. You can set up reminders, so remind me to call or remind me to something, follow up with schedule meeting, create a meeting, set up meeting. And you can also open the calendar by saying what should I do next. More commands will follow, as probably will more platforms. The current situation is this is only supported for Windows 10, and the current situation is that the commands are really well detected. So if you say show me or open, the application will quickly detect that. However, whatever name you say, the precision is a bit worse and is also slower. So if you say Resco or if you say Tesco, the application doesn't really know which one you mean. So it takes a little bit of time to really find out and to be precise. On iOS and Android, the options are currently limited, so there is a set of commands that each application could use, and there are no custom commands that an application can define. So here the situation is limited, and we are basically waiting for these platforms to open the options there. Unfortunately, I'm running Windows 7, so I won't be showing demo of this feature, but if you are in possession of Windows 10 device, you can try it yourselves. Reports is a big feature we've announced in version 9.0. And just a quick recap, these are offline reports, so it's a document generation feature which can run offline without connectivity and which generates a document. It's not a dynamic CRM or SSRS report, it's a custom Resco format which is defined by XML or using an editor in Woodford. If you want to know more, check the webinar New Features 9.0, where I went into details of how you can set it all up. What's new in 9.1 are formats. PDF was already supported, but we are adding Microsoft Word and HTML, and we are actively working on Excel support. So let me show you how this works. Again, Woodford. I already have some report templates defined, so all I have to do is just go to the account form and add a new command, run mobile report. That's it. Now I can just publish my customization and switch to mobile application. Alright, so I'll open accounts. For example, advanced by components has quite a few contacts, so that's great. And I can now click on that big run mobile report command. This will open the run mobile report form where I can select which report is going to be used. That's my template accounts contacts, and there are different formats. So there is already PDF, HTML, and Word available. So this format, it is selected by the user. It's not selected by the administrator in Woodford, but the user can decide which format to use. So for PDF, if I click Run Report, it will generate a report which looks something like this. If I close this one, and select HTML, it will run a report which looks kind of similar. Again, let me view that. So something like this. All right. And if I go for Word, you will notice that now it looks kind of strange, but the reason for this is that the rendering in the application can't handle really all the details. So if I click Open and select Copy to Word, you will see that the document actually looks really similar to PDF and HTML. Yes, here we are. So right now we support PDF, HTML, and Word, and Excel support will follow. Another new feature in version 9.1 is Search View. This is something that you might be familiar with from Dynamics CRM, where you can set up a different view for search results. So as soon as you start typing into the little search window, a different view can be used, and that means different look, but also different data filter. For this to be set up in Resco, this only means that you have to create for such an entity a view with very specific name. The name is Search View. It has to be a public view and it can't be hidden. With the setup, you already will have this view being used during the search. And you can do, for example, search for all records. This is something we've seen requested a lot. So if you are in My Accounts but start searching, you want to search in all accounts, or vice versa, you can do some limiting on searching. So if you don't want the user to see all the results, you can also do that. So, quick demonstration of how this is set up. Accounts and a view. I will create a view which will be called Redmond Accounts, my favorite view, and these are all the accounts from City Redmond. But I will also create one more view. Now the name is really important, so it has to be search view, it has to be public, and it can't be hidden. This is all right. And just to showcase that it will really do what it's supposed to be doing, I will delete the cells and set the height to 30, so it will also look very different. So this is all I need to demonstrate this feature. So publish and switch back to mobile application. All right, so accounts, and here I have my views. If I select Redmond accounts, you can immediately see that all the accounts are from Redmond, which is what I would expect. But if I click into search and start typing A, you can see that A Bike Store, Active Cycling, and all the other accounts are available here as well. Also, the look of the view is different. So this is the way how you can set up the views for searching. Next is the feature which I said I can't really explain well in simple terms, but I will try. So this is what it's supposed to do. So you have a text field, for example, a city, and you have your sales guys going into the field, but they are basically just visiting three cities, or they are most likely visiting Bratislava, Prague, and Vienna. Sometimes they visit Budapest, sometimes they might visit Warsaw, but these three cities are the most common cities that they use for their accounts. So why not help them, and even if it's a text field, give them some options that they can choose from without having to type into the city field. This is exactly what we are bringing. So these are some predefined options for any text field. So it doesn't have to be an option set. It can be a text field, and still you will have some options there. And it's a new field format. So in the fields, new type of formatting, there is either a drop-down or a drop-down list. Drop-down means that you will have these options, but you can also write your own option in there. If you have drop-down list, you only have these options and you can only select from those options. So you cannot write your own. So if I want to visit Budapest, I can't write it in there. The multi-drop-down and the multi-drop-down list are similar, but they allow more values to be present in that field. So if I would be providing more cities, that probably doesn't make sense, but they would be there. How to do this, how to define this in Woodford, go into localization and create a new string with ID, entity, field name, and the value which you want to see. So for example, account, address one city, Bratislava equals Bratislava. That's what the user will see. Or account, address one city, Prague, and so on. The field will then contain the value, so this part, which you define here. And if you select multi-drop-down list and the user selects more options, they will be separated by the semicolon. I understand that this will definitely need a demonstration. So I have my fields, and here I have my city. I will define the formatting as drop-down. This will mean that there will be some options, but also the user will be able to provide his own option. So if there are 3 cities, he can provide 4th city. That's all right. And more or less I'm done. All I have to do is now define the actual options. So I will go into the localization and open the entity, account, address one city. So this is the ID for that field. And I will start adding some more options. So I will start and write account, address one city, now dot Bratislava, and this is the value which will be written into the field. I have deliberately have written here lowercase b, so you will see that actually lowercase b will be written into the field, even though the user will see a capital B. All right, I will demonstrate that in a sec. So I will add 2 more options, account, address one city dot Prague, and also Vienna. And this is it. Now I'm set, so I can publish the application and switch to iPad. Here we go. So if I go into accounts, open active cycling and go into the address, you will see that now there is this little arrow. If I click into the city field, instead of just writing as in other text field, now I have 3 options: Bratislava, Prague, and Vienna. So if I select Vienna, I'm all done and everything is finished, so I don't have to worry. But I also can provide my own option. So if I go here, delete that and write Budapest, hit return, now the value is Budapest. If I would select drop-down list, this wouldn't be possible, and I only could select from the 3 provided options. So if I go here back and select, for example, Prague, hit save, what you will notice here that the Prague is with lowercase p, which means that the value, so the ID from the localization, is actually used as the value. So you can show something else to the user and then have in that field a slightly different value. This might be useful in some situations, so it's important or useful for you to know about it. Which brings me to the last part of today's presentation. And this is a feature which we've requested, which we've seen requested quite a lot, and it's the localization of synchronization errors. What this means is that sometimes the error message which the user sees is kind of cryptic. They don't know what to do at that point. And you, our customers and partners, wanted to provide some specific information like additional steps that they could try, or where can they reach support, like call this number, or what should they try first, because maybe you have a policy that every month they are changing the password. So maybe you should write there, didn't you forget to change the password also in mobile CRM, or even explain what actually happens in the terms that the user can understand. And to do that, you can go just to localization. There are a couple of new strings, like if the application can't connect, there is this can't connect ID, and you can customize that. So you can write there, I don't know, are you connected to the internet? Or if their server login failed, you can write, okay, try this month's password. Have you forgotten something? And here are the text which you can localize. So I'll let you know that these are the strings which you have to look for in the localization and change and provide something in there. At the moment, there is not yet the option to provide some URLs, like click there and see some frequently asked questions, but that will probably come later. We have also improved JavaScript Bridge, a couple of things like running mobile reports, so you can now use this method or function which gets a fetch or the report XML and creates the output. So you can really create the report and then use that file and attach it to Node or do something with it. And we also created a function which will allow you to send email with attachments. So far you could send an email but without an attachment, and we've seen a couple of implementations where people wanted to send emails or I don't know, even create a mobile report, attach it to an email and send it. So again, into this method you provide the address, subject body and the actual attachment, and if the CRM email will be used or the native email will be used, this just depends on the setting in the application. There is actually much more that we did with this release. Many new features. You might have noticed that the synchronization is a bit faster, as it always is with each new release. There are some improvements in the synchronization conflicts, so you can now be more precise with what happens, and much more. I recommend you to check it all out. And since we are at the end of my presentation, I will now check all your questions and try to answer them. So there are 2 questions from Daniel, but if there are any more questions, feel free to write them into the chat window right now. So the first question from Daniel is if it's possible to show custom entities and activity entities in the same calendar view. So currently, you can show only one entity type on the calendar, so you can choose, okay, now I want to see a custom entity, now I want to see an activity, but you won't see them at the same time. That is something we have on our to-do list, to be able to see 2 entities or more entities at the same time, but right now, unfortunately, it's not possible. And then there is some kudos for the custom error messages from Daniel. So thank you. We knew that this is something that many of our partners and customers will benefit from, so that's why we have added it. If that's it, if there are no more questions, then as always, oh, there's one more question just arrived from Don. So if you change a placeholder image, if it's a local change or a change in the whole company, this really depends on how you are using the mobile projects. If you have mobile project for a certain user role only, then this will affect that user role. If you have a mobile project that is used throughout the whole whole organization, it will affect the whole organization. So if you want to fine-tune this, I would recommend using mobile projects, perhaps define some user roles just to specify which mobile projects they will get, and then work on top of that. So again, if this is, one more question, two more questions, so let's go for that. If it's possible, a question from Chris, if it's possible to use Resco client and Woodford with a custom database, so I assume this is some custom type of backend or something like that. For these types of scenarios, we recommend checking out the Resco CRM server, which can be greatly used for all the integrations and similar approaches. So I would really point you out into this direction. Henning wanted some clarification on the calendar and selecting more than one view from different entities if it works on the map. On the map it works, so on the map you can see at the same time multiple entities. It was only for the calendar where you can only see one entity at the time, but on the map it's already available, you can see multiple entities at the same time. Alright, so if this is finally it, then I thank you very much for your attention. I hope you liked what you have seen. There are a lot of new features in every Resco release. This time we had to divide it into 2 webinars. If you haven't seen part 1, check out the webinar recording, and see you next time.